Shalom, Yasharallah. This your brother Dawadah from GMS St. Petersburg, Florida, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto YAHAWAH, BAHASHIM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHIM, RAKHAKODASH. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you all pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump on into this here topic dealing with what they call ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery. SOS, I believe it is, Survivors of Slavery, and B1, Black First. All right, these are some of the not to say new movements, because I believe B1 was around since like Malcolm X time, you know, when they talk about, you know, we got to be black first, you know, these types of things. All right, but nevertheless, you know, bringing this here to the forefront, because why? This is a how do I put this? This is pretty much a tool being used against us by the so-called white man. All right. And if you know anything about the so-called white, we can go back to what Malcolm X time when you had the COINTELPRO. All right. And this is how they wound up going inside and infiltrating all these different groups. All right. You know, actually, I did a video on this two different videos on this a while back, you know, talking about COINTELPRO and the hunt for the Black Messiah. All right. If you understand that and what the FBI was doing with that, all right, then you'll understand, you know, pretty much Esau's you know, I can't pronounce the word, but you get the point. His motive. All right. Let me grab that real quick. Genesis 27 and 41. This is Genesis 27 and 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. These words of Esau, her elder son, was told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, does comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. All right. So this is what Esau, the so-called white man's MO is towards you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. It's pretty much to exterminate you. All right. This is the bottom line. This is what's in his heart. This is his heart desire. All right. So, and you have to understand it's you know how they say, believe in what somebody does and not what they say. You know, actions speak louder than words, things like that. All right. So no matter what Esau is saying with his divisive ass tongue, he is the damn devil. All right. He might say one thing. He's trying to help us out, this and that. But nevertheless, you know, these things are used to thwart us. All right. To keep us in this sleep position and overthrow us. All right. So nevertheless, you know, hell, we could read about that in what is that? Exodus. I believe it's Exodus chapter 1. Let me check real quick. Yeah, this is it right here. Let me read Exodus 1 and 8. It says, well, I'm gonna start at verse 8. Exodus 1 and 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt, that which knew not Joseph, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more mightier than we. Come, let us deal wisely with them. Let us deal wisely with them. Just like when you read in Psalms 83, it says they have taken crafty counsel against thy hidden ones. All right, this is the same thing they're doing. They're planning and plotting in secret. This is not in the open. This is not, you know, this is what our plan is. This is what we're going to be doing in the open. No, this is their inward thoughts. All right, this is what they, going back to Genesis 27, this is what, you know, Esau is heading all of these things. All right, so this is what his inward plan and device is towards the children of Israel to cut them off. All right, so Exodus 1 and 10, come, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, that they join unto our enemies and fight against us, so get them up out of the land. All right. So let me see. Let me just read verse 13. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, and in mortar and in brick, and all the manner of service in the field, and all their service were when they were made to serve with rigor. All right. So as you can see, there was a plan to so-called disrupt or thwart, you know, pretty much, you know, Israel. This is a tactic of the so-called white man. The so-called white man does, especially even unto this same day, man. How does he keep you asleep and blinded? By distracting you with all these different distractions, so you can't sit there and focus on the problem at hand. All right. If we so worried about this and we so worried about that, we can't see what's really in front of us. All right. Just like with the coveting kids and so on and so forth. The so-called white man know what he's being exposed left and right. Let me grab a couple precepts. I don't want to go too far off top, not off topic, but you know, this is Obadiah 1 and 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are the hidden things sought up? Okay. This is 2 Thessalonians 2 and 8. Then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming. All right. So what Let me grab another precept just to paint a picture. Scriptures can say it quicker, faster, and more to the point than what I can. Obadiah 1:18. And Savior shall come up upon Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahawah's. All right. So what? Esau knows that there's, let me read one more precept. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down to you having great wrath, because he knoweth he have but a short time. So Esau know he got but a short time. He knows that what? The Most High is raising up Israel, and he's gonna start gathering them to save them. All right, but what? The so-called white man is throwing out all these here distractions to steal and hijack the movement. All right, going back to the Covington kids. Israel was being so pronounced into the world. All right, Esau was being so exposed by what? The Israelites. All right, mainly on this here YouTube. So you see all these actions taking place. All right, which is all written about in scriptures, like the famine of the word and these things like that. But carnally, Esau's trying to cut us off from raising up the children of Israel, from the elect, from being raised up. He's trying to keep them asleep so he can keep ruling over them. All right, basically just like in Egypt, keeping them distracted so that they don't band together. All right, and basically come up against the so-called Americans, these Edomites. All right, they don't want that to happen. All right, but what? This is part of the Most High's plan. All right, so all their tactics that they're going to be using, you know what I'm saying? Even when things get out of control, sometimes they actually have to address it head on. Like I'm saying about the Covington kids. All right, they don't want to put us in the news and things like that, because once they mention us in the news and things like that, random people can go online and start doing their own research on it, and then they might stumble into the truth and fall into the truth that way. You see what I'm saying? So the wildfire was spreading so much and so fast, and it was getting out of control. So Esau has to do what? Fight fire with fire. When you have like those California fires and the whole thing is burning up, they don't want everything else to burn. They'll set a fire in front of it to contain the fire. All right. So they're using the same thing against you. Right. So going back to the Covington kids, right? This was pretty much a controlled opposition from Esau to turn us back down. Same with the Black Lives Matter. All right. They knew that we was raising up and gathering back together, and we wasn't standing. We wasn't going to take this bullshit that they was giving us. So back into the Black Lives Matter movement, they seen so-called black people gathering back up together, standing up for their own people, standing in unity and solidarity up against their enemy. So what they had to do, they had to hijack that movement. You know what I'm saying? By doing what? Creating a movement, Black Lives Matter. They're the ones that controlling the opposition. They're the ones putting the puppets up there. So, when these people are starting to gather up together, all right, you get in a group of people. This group of people need a leader, right? Well, we seen them group up together and get in these here groups before they, form their own group and get their own leader and start moving autonomously. Let's give them a leader and take control of this whole group. All right. Same with this Israelite movement. That's not movement, but this truth that's going out on the internet. All right. So with all this going on the internet, they had to do what? Man, everybody's learning about the Israelites, so on and so forth. We got to put them on the news, but demonize them in the news. So if you don't know about the Israelites, or you kind of heard about them, or you want to do some research on them, we'll give you the narrative that you should know about. These people are all racist, so on and so forth, and X, Y, and Z. So the so-called white man forms these groups. All right. Sometimes he don't want to have to deal with these situations or bring it to the forefront, but what? He has to fight fire with fire. So he's going to come out to you that way. All right. So as you understand these prophecies coming to pass, the children of Israel being raised up together, all right, and the tribes coming back together, Esau's trying to divide all these things. Like the scriptures say, a house divided upon itself can't stand. All right. And this is a tactic this is just a straight up war tactic. All right. And you got, you know what I'm saying? Let's just go into like a WWF match. You got a tag team partnership, right? It's a tag match. Two guys versus two other guys. Well, if this here tag team, right, if they start fighting each other, the enemy could just sit back and watch. Like, well, let them beat the shit out of each other. Once they get weak, knock each other out. We'll just go and pin them, and that's it. We good. You see what I'm saying? We ain't got to worry about fighting two different people when they over there fighting themselves. They'll take each other out, and that'll just be all she wrote, But nevertheless, this is the same thing Esau Edom is doing in the same day, man. All right, so when you're hearing these things, how do I say, thinking so-called black first in the terms of our people first before the rest of these, like the so-called white man, these Africans and everybody else. Yeah, that's a good thing to think about. You see what I'm saying? But you have to understand, homeboy is mixing this in with some poison. All right. Or American descendants of slavery. All right. In which this is a bullshit topic anyway, because, in our people, they be blown by any different wind. Because when we was out here telling you that you descendants of the slave trade, and these are markers showing you are the children of Israel, according to the scriptures and the prophecies, that your people will be scattered into the whole four corners of the earth, via what we would know as today as a transatlantic slave trade. All right. This is how you would identify who the children of Israel are today on the planet Earth. But when we was telling you that, we have on the highways and the byways have our signs out, People don't want to associate with that. I ain't no slave. I ain't no descendant of slave. I ain't this. I ain't that. But now, nevertheless, the so-called white man has this narrative and he's feeding it back onto you. All right. Now our people want to jump on the bandwagon. You'll see videos and posts and comments saying, if you ain't B1 or if you ain't ADOS, then you cooning. You know, if you ain't with this shit, we ain't trying to deal with you. And you've seen a lot of so-called black people banding together and standing up strong and trying to be the movement. And we got to clean ourselves up. We got to start thinking about ourselves, so on and so on and so forth, you know. But what you have to understand that this is a movement being pushed by the so-called white man. You have to think about this. You want to join together as a group or an organization. Who's going to lead you? What's the foundation you standing on? The only thing that you all have in common is you are so-called American descendants of slavery. Basically, the so-called black people that was brought into slavery over here in just the United States alone. All right. And which, when you backtrack all that makes no sense. All right. We just so happen to get dropped off right here. How do I say? Right here on this here landmass. All right. But what, you know, not even saying that, the exact locations we was pulled from, you know, we was all pulled from the same location because, going back into history, what the first slave ships came from, what, Spain and stuff like that. All right. Then you started getting slave ships coming from Africa. But at the same time, we all the same people. All right. So you can't be like, well, wherever they picked them up at, so on and so forth. Like, yeah, but we the same people. So if it's like me and my brother, right, we about to catch a bus and we both going home to the same spot, right? His job is a little further down the road than my job, or vice versa. One of us get on the bus first, then the other one get on the bus. Well, we got on the bus at different times. We still relatives, we still brothers and stuff like that. We still going to the same household and things like that. So no matter where we got on the bus set, it's the same people, man. All right. So when you might be on the bus like, oh, I know y'all two brothers, even though y'all got onto the bus on different stops, y'all don't change the fact that y'all brothers. You know, you might have got on different stops. You might have got off at different stops. You might even live in two different houses. Still not changing the fact that y'all came from the same mother and the same father. All right. Same thing here, man. But you have to understand that this is the divide from the so-called white man. First and foremost, how are you going to divide the so-called black man, right? We talking in the carnal sense, the so-called black man, right? You do understand that the so-called black man isn't the so-called black man because he's just here in America, right? You do understand that, like, for instance, some of the slave ships dropped off so-called black people in Mexico, right? So, like, what we'll tell you is that the so-called Mexicans are the tribe of Issachar, the so-called black people are the tribe of Judah, right? So if you look at Mexico, right, mainly you have what? The tribe of Issachar there, right? Mainly, right? But nevertheless, you have a huge population of the tribe of Judah there, so-called black people there, all right? Now, let's say the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, they was already over here on this here side. The so-called black man was brought over here, all right? But nevertheless, they from the same stock. They both Israelites, all right? Different tribes, but they from the same nation. You know what I'm saying? They all of the nation of Israel, all right? But even further than that, all right, you have the same so-called black man that's living in Mexico, that his slave ship brought him to Mexico. Then you have another slave ship that brought his same brother. They got the same mother and father, whatever, whatnot. They got on the boat at the same place, but they were separated. One ship went to Mexico, one ship went to America. All right, now they both have children, but they go back to the same grandparents. They're the same people. You see what I'm saying? Mixed into these different locations. So, you know, one of the narratives, you know, when some of the so-called not so deep people are thinking about, oh, we just different because we did this and that. Like, nah, bro, we all went through the same things according to the scriptures, first and foremost. Nevertheless, we all the same people. All right. Now, like the scripture also say, a house divided amongst itself, all right, it's not going to stand. And this is how Esau, Edom, is, not to say this is how he's dominating us. It was all written in the scripture, but nevertheless, this is one of his tactics he's using against us. All right. Dividing our house. And well, really deeper than that, these are the curses that's fell upon us according to Deuteronomy chapter 28. All right. But nevertheless, you have what? You have Esau, Edom keep dividing up each of the tribes. Right. So let's say over in California, you got Bloods and you got Crips. Right. Majority of them are all so-called black people. They all the same fucking people. They could all even be cousins. You see what I'm saying? They could all actually be brothers and sisters, you know, but nevertheless, they in two different gangs. They being divided up, and then they killing each other off, you know, not knowing that they not their enemies. They're like, that's your actual brother. Y'all came out the same womb, out the same house. Y'all brothers. You see what I'm saying? Why do you have this divide between you when your real enemy is out there? All right. Your real enemy is over here bombing on both of y'all, Bloods and the Crips, and y'all over here bombing on each other. Like, why don't y'all just band back together and realize y'all brothers, y'all ain't got no differences between y'all. All right. Besides your favorite color, you know what I'm saying? Which somebody else gave unto you and programmed it to you. All right. Because the Bloods and the Crips, they wasn't started with what you see today. They was started on something completely different. Same with the Black Panthers. But again, like the Black Lives Matter, All these things was infiltrated by the so-called white man, and it was rebranded and resold back into the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans to destroy them, to further divide them. Same with this ADOS, same with this SOS, same with this B1. Again, you got black people being black first. What about the rest of our brethren, man? The Most High's plan is to gather all the tribes together. Your plan is to sit there and just raise up the so-called black man by himself and then look down upon your brethren, man. Like, yo, you realize, come on, man, this is just absurd, man. You going against the Most High's plan. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, let me just continue on these scriptures. We're going to go to the book of Daniel, chapter 9, and verse 12. This is Daniel chapter 9, verse 12. It says, and he confirmed his word against us, and he confirmed his words which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us by bringing upon us a great evil. All right. Now, what was the great evil? Go back to Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 on down. All right. All those curses and all the other curses that was in this here scriptures that the Most High prophesied was going to happen to us. All these curses happened to us, even unto the same day. This is why we all fucked up today. All right. This is why you having hatred between the tribes. You know, when you further go down into it, this is why we had a hatred between the tribes. All right. So the Most High confirmed his word. He said, look, you know, basically, we done went to a car dealership, signed a contract with these people. You see what I'm saying? Or we went and rented an apartment from these people, signed a contract with them saying we're going to pay our rent on time on this day at this amount. We wound up being late X amount of times. Now, they in the contract, they say if you did that, your ass was getting evicted. We got evicted. So he confirmed the words that was written in our contract because we broke the contract, right? Brought these curses upon us. That's where we at now. All right. He brought all these evils upon us, even Esau, Edom. All right. And it says, for under the whole heaven have not been done as have been done unto Jerusalem. All right. So out of all the different nations on the planet Earth, the Israelites had the worst things done unto them. There was no other atrocities like has been done unto the Israelites. All right. So the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the whole house of Israel, there's been nothing that's been done like unto the whole house. All right. And so, you know, especially here in America, you learn a lot, not to say a lot, but you learn way more about the so-called Negro slavery than you do about what? The things that was happening over in like Haiti, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Brazil, all these different places. You don't really hear about, you know, you don't really learn that history like that, you know, in your so-called school systems. You just hear about so-called American slavery. All right. But what? All these things happen to all the tribes of Israel, of Israel. All right. Because the curses followed upon all of us. All right. It wasn't just like, all right, this tribe going to get it worse than this tribe and this. So we all wound up catching hell, man. All the tribes, not just one tribe, not one over the other tribes. We was all catching the same hell, man. All right. Let me go to Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 20. Oh, not 20, 33, I think it is. Jeremiah 50 and 33, it says, thus saith Yahawah of hosts, the children of Israel, which would be the northern kingdom, the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, and the children of Judah, which is the southern kingdom, the so-called Haitians, West Indies, and the so-called Negroes. All right. It says the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. All right. So guess what? Even in the scriptures, it's telling you that what? Both kingdoms, the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom, the so-called Latinos, the Native Americans, and the so-called Negro tribes, you know what I'm saying? The so-called black tribes, you know what I mean? They was all oppressed together. You can't just be like B1 or American descendants of slavery. You see, the Most High has it in here that, you know, all the tribes wind up catching it. All the tribes going to wind up being redeemed. It's not going to just be one tribe over the other tribe. You see what I'm saying? So according to the Most High's plan, all right, all the tribes caught held together. All the tribes going to wind up being redeemed. All right. It's not going to be, you know, again, no separation between the tribes. We already separated. All right. So with us separating, that's only doing what? If you're not gathering, you basically separating or you dividing. All right. And that's not what the Most High's will is, especially at this point in time. All right. Maybe when we first got into this predicament, yeah, the Most High had then scattered us like he said he would amongst the four corners of the earth, but the hatred between the brethren. But what? These curses now are coming up off the children of Israel and falling upon Esau, Edom. All right. So guess what? The Edomites now are having hatred between their brother, you know, between the different their tribes and their brethren and things like that. All right. But guess what? The Israelites, they're coming together. All right. They banding back together. All right. So we don't need, you know, especially in this time where these so-called Israelites, and I say it like that because I'm talking about, you know, these ADOS and B1, all these different people as they're so-called in their mind, so-called waking up and you know, picking themselves up out the damn dirt. They doing it the wrong way because they only want to be, they further separating themselves from the rest of the tribes, from the rest of their brethren, man. You see what I'm saying? Like, yo, man, all the tribes wind up catching the same hell. They all mad about the same stuff. Y'all all got the same common enemy. Why wouldn't you want to join back up with your brethren to take down your same enemy, man? All right, because why? And then you want to shit on your brothers. Oh, man, we don't give a damn about the so-called Mexicans, so on and so forth. Okay, let's just say that the so-called black man wound up getting up on top of this so-called B1 and ADOS, whatever goes through. Now the so-called black man is reigning supreme. Okay, now look at all your enemies. You still got the so-called white man as your enemy. You got the so-called Mexicans as your enemy. You got all the Latino tribes as your enemy. The so-called Latino tribes as your enemy. So now you got all these different enemies. And you don't got nobody on your side. You see what I'm saying? That makes no sense. And you ain't even got no military. Like, this is some bullshit. Like, what the hell what? You know what I'm saying? The thing that the best thing that you can do is join yourself back to the Lord. You see what I'm saying? Like, right now, as the children of Israel being gathered back up together, we don't really have no military, no guns and no shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Trying to wage war on Esau. We being gathered up under YAHAWASHI, all right? And the Lord's going to turn us up, and he going to put his spirit on us and do the rest. It's going to be him. He going to get all the glory back for it. All right? You're not going to have one tribe saying, look, the tribe of Judah wound up bringing salvation on their own self and exterminating the so-called white man and all. Nah, it ain't going to be like that, man. The Most High going to get all the glory, him and his son, man. All right? But nevertheless, it's not going to be no more dividing these things. This is not the plan or the will of the Most High. All right. So this is the plan and the will of the so-called white man to keep you further divided. That's what I'm saying. Because why? We in the times where we were revealing to you, hey, man, you so-called Negroes, man, the so-called Mexicans is your brother, man. Them so-called Haitians, they your brothers, man. Them so-called Brazilians, they your brothers, man. Them so-called North American Indians, the Seminole Indians, all these different, the Panamanian people, the so-called, I said Brazilian, the so-called Colombian people, the so-called Venezuelan people. These are all your brothers, man. And as you can see, man, like we was reading the scriptures, they was all, let me read it again, Jeremiah 50:33. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. All right. So let me keep reading. And all that took them captives held them fast and refused to let them go. So if you go and you look at our 12 tribes chart and letting you know, all right, these are all the tribes as they've written in the scriptures, and these are all what they're being called today. Go down a list of what they all being called today. You know, the so-called Puerto Ricans, so-called Mexicans, so-called Colombians, Venezuelans, and Peruvians, the North American Indians, the Seminole Indians, the Haitians, the West Indies, the Trinidadians, the Bohemian people, all these different tribes. You see what I'm saying? Like, yo, you go look at all these different nations, all these little countries and stuff like that, and tell me who is oppressing these nations. All right. Puerto Rico is being oppressed by who? Puerto Rico being oppressed by the same people that the Haitians being oppressed by. The Haitians is being oppressed by the same people that the Cubans is being oppressed by. The Cubans is being oppressed by the same people the Venezuelans are being oppressed by. The Venezuelans are being oppressed by the same people that the Colombians are being oppressed by. And the Colombians are being oppressed and being used by the same people that's using them to oppress the Venezuelans. So at the same time, the so-called white man is still reigning over all of our tribes, and they still oppressing all of our tribes at the same time. So for the so-called black man here in America, all right, and for you people who don't know, you know, like what I look like visually or whatever, whatnot, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I'm what you would call a so-called black man, all right? You see what I'm saying? It's not like, oh, I'm from one of these so-called Latino tribes and just bigging them up and I'm hating the so-called black man. Nah, man, I'm actually from the, you know, I'm actually what you would call a so-called black man from the tribe of Judah, all right? But at the same time, look, man, we're not in the spirit of like, oh yeah, let's put us up first. It's not about us, man. This is what the Most High's plan is. This how he want it, all right? He want all the tribes to be raised up. You see what I'm saying? And they're going to be brought back together. So we're not going to just be sitting over here like, yeah, man, we ain't really worried about them over in Cuba and Mexico. Nah, man, Venezuela, we ain't worried about them niggas. Fuck them niggas. Nah, we work. Hey, man, those are brethren, man. And like the Lord said, man, hey, he raising us back up and there's not going to be a divide between the nations no more, man. All right, we ain't going to be sitting there like, man, fuck them niggas over there. We ain't worried about them over there. You see what I'm saying? They ain't give a fuck about us. We don't give a fuck about them. You see what I'm saying? Nah, we not like that. Well, especially the men of the Lord. Yeah, you still have a lot of our brethren that hate each other. You see what I'm saying? But what? 2/3 of them going to wind up being cut off first and foremost. But nevertheless, the ones that's going to wind up being saved and of the elect, they're going to wind up coming up out of that. All right. You're going to start seeing the tribes come back. The tribes are already coming back together. You see what I'm saying? In a massive way. All right. These are all prophecies being fulfilled in our day, man. But you can't be sitting here following after the so-called white man and all his little moves that he's got going on and the things he's pushing out. Because why? This ain't doing nothing but bringing more death and destruction, rocking us right back to sleep. All right. Taking our eye off the prize or off of, what we you know, the things that's really going on around us. You see what I'm saying? Is the more and more that we sit here and be talking about black first, This is putting us in a small category, making it a lot easier for the so-called white man just to come down upon this one tribe. Just reverse the roles, put yourself in his shoes. He got 12 different tribes that he got to goddamn try to maintain. Do you think he want to fight all 12 tribes when they banded together? You know what I'm saying? Is they all working together as a well-oiled machine? Or do you think that he want to fight them one-on-one where it's a lot easier? Well, I can take out this tribe first, and when I'm done with them, I'll go to the next tribe and to the next tribe. You see what I'm saying? It's better for him to take them all one-on-one than taking them all on, you know, combined as one unit. You see what I'm saying? This is Deuteronomy 28. I'm gonna start at verse 64, getting into the ADOS situation, you know, American descendants of slavery, you know, and why this is a how do I say a bothersome to try to put that in the forefront. You know, you're trying to use the so-called slave trade, not to say you as the so-called Negroes in this situation doing this, because again, I already understand that this is being set up by the so-called white man, all right, and he's using fire to fight fire, because we telling you, hey, you know what I'm saying? One of the main things that we could tell you as far as trying to figure out if you're an Israelite or not is by saying what? You know, we'll ask people, hey, what's your nationality? You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm a so-called black man. You know, all right, so you will be from this tribe. Or if you don't know that, like, well, are you a descendant of the slave trade? You know, do you know how your foreparents got over here? If you was a descendant of slavery? Oh, yeah, we was a part of that. Okay, well then, boom, what we're about to read, it fits you. You see what I'm saying? So the Israelites have been on the highways and the byways gathering up our people. And this is one of the ways, as we're about to read here, signifying who are the Israelites. So we've been using this from the jump street. You know what I'm saying? But now they're using this as a tactic to gather up so-called black people into a group based off of what? What's the one glue? The two things that's gluing all these people together. One, they have to be black people. They only have to be black people. Then on top of that, they have to be black people that was descendants of slavery that was brought over here in America. You can't be like a black person that live over in Europe or some shit like that and all of a sudden move over to America. And these stupid motherfuckers don't even realize, like, well, their original origins, they could have came off the same damn plantation or from the same port where they was shipped from, and then they was put on two different ships and sold or traded off on auctioning blocks and moved somewhere else, man. This is what you don't take in part. You see what I'm saying? Just like how, you know, in slavery, families was sold and divided up right then and there. You know, you can have a mother, a father, and a child. You see what I'm saying? And the mother go one way, the father go another way, and the child go another way. You see what I'm saying? Let's say the mother go make it to America. The father's down in Haiti. The child is down in Mexico. Now they all growing up. You see, or let's just say a mother, father, and 5 kids, right? Now, the 5 kids is separated. One of the kids is in Mexico. One is in Brazil. One is in America. One is in Haiti. One is in Puerto Rico. All right. Now, would you say, well, okay, they Puerto Rican, or they this, or they that, or they didn't come over here in America in the so-called slave trade. They didn't go through what we had to go through. They wasn't oppressed like we was oppressed. Yeah, they were oppressed like that. This is why they all scattered in all these different areas, because why? All the curses fell upon all of us, all right? Not just a select group of us. It was on all of us, all right? So let me read this Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64, going back to the curses that the Most High put on us for breaking his commandments, all right? Let me read that first, verse 15. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15, all right? But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahawah thy power to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come up upon thee and overtake thee. So jump now. There's a bunch of curses from verse 15 all the way down to where we're reading now, you know, all the way on to the end. But we're going to just, you know, jump to verse 64. And Yahawah shall scatter thee among all people. All right. So we could just stop there. This is talking to the nation, the children of Israel, all 12 tribes. Right. He said he says, and Yahawah shall scatter thee among all people. All right. So again, if I'm you got a mother and a father and they got 100 kids and they get scattered into 100 different nations. It's not changing up who these people are, man. It's the same people. They just scattered into 100 different places. Just like hell, if you got, let's say a grandmama have like 10, 15 kids, you know, now all her kids all live in different houses. They all got their different, let's say, you know what I'm saying? Now we know you declare your pedigree off of your father and the bloodline go through your father, but for a carnal sense, so most people can understand it nowadays, right? You have a grandmother who have, like 10 granddaughters, right? All these granddaughters get married and they have, which will give them a different last name. They have kids now. All their kids all have different last names because they got different fathers, right? Again, we speaking on a carnal sense because we know the bloodline go from the fathers, right? But on a carnal sense, just to give you this here picture, right? Now, they all have different last names, talking about the grandkids. They all have different last names. Now, and they all live in different states and different houses and so on and so forth. Now, when they go back to family reunion, they all going to be gathered up into the same house up under the same one grandmother because they all basically come from out of there. And again, I know that this is a bad example because we know the bloodline go through for the father, but as so you can understand what's going on here, nobody would be like, well, because y'all got different last names, y'all live in different houses, this ain't your grandma no more. Y'all didn't come from the same big mama. Y'all didn't grow up having the same shit that she had in her house. No, it's all the same people. We just now live in different places with different last names. Same with the children of Israel, who was all taken into captivity all at the same time, and we were scattered into the four corners of the earth. All right. But we all still the same people. All right. So Deuteronomy 28 and 64, and Yahawah shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. All right. So the Most High said he was going to scatter us into all nations from one end of the earth to the other end. This is how we got into all these different nations. So again, we all started out from the same place, the same people. But the Most High said he was going to put us in goddamn every country, every landmass on the planet Earth. Don't mean that we them people no more. Or it don't mean that we those people. It means that we all the same people and we all under the same curses. We all got the same fucking judgment. We just ended up in different locations, but all still under the same curses, all still under the same oppression. There's no divide. The only divide is our goddamn, the borders where we was at. You see what I'm saying? The only difference between a so-called black man here in America and a so-called black man that was sold into Mexico is the goddamn border, the language we speak, and some of our customs. But we the same fucking people, man. You know what I'm saying? When we will go back, let's say YAHAWASHI come back and he go like he gonna do and sift us according to bloodline. When you go into Revelation chapter 7, Revelation chapter 7, talking about the 144,000. All right, it says 12,000 from each tribe. That's pretty much sorting people according to their bloodline. You see what I'm saying? Well, okay, 12,000 from the tribe of Judah, meaning 12,000 from, like you would say today, 12,000 the so-called Negroes, the so-called black people. Right? Whether they be here in America or whether they be in Europe, whether they be in Canada, whether they be in Mexico. All right. One of the 12,000 men from Judah, the so-called black men, can come from out of Mexico, speaking Spanish and every damn thing. He could even look like a goddamn Mexican over through time. But what? At the same time, he's still a so-called black man. All right. And it still went through all the same thing, all the same curses, man. Because why? You can't escape these curses no matter where you go. All right. Verse 65. And among these nations, thou shalt find no ease. So, going into this again, this is talking about all the children of Israel. So did the so-called Negroes find ease in America? Or did the so-called Mexicans find ease in Mexico? Hell no, they was catching it all the way around, man. Hey, man, look, man, even it's the same day right now in the news. What you got going on in Venezuela, man? You see what I'm saying? They turned up over there like you talking about Black Lives Matter getting gunned down in the streets, so on and so forth. Hey, man, the same shit going on over there in Venezuela. The same shit going on over there in Mexico. The same shit going on down there in Puerto Rico. The same shit going on over there in, what is that? Cuba, Colombia, all these places, man. Brazil. The same shit going on in all these different countries, man. All right. So what? The Most High is not going to just sit over there and overlook another tribe or whatever, whatnot, because whatever reason going on. Nah, man. All 12 tribes going to be raised up together. All right. Let me just continue this. And I got a couple more scriptures. Verse 65, and among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. So again, among these nations thou shalt find no ease. So there wasn't no landmass where the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who were the Israelites, were scattered, where one of them had it better off than the other ones because of where they were scattered. Oh, because they made it over to Puerto Rico. They had it better off than they had it over here. No, nigga, we all caught the same hell, man. All right. It says, but Yahawah shall give thee a trembling of heart and a failing of eyes and a sorrow of mind, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of life. Just like how the so-called Negroes are feeling it right here, right now, today, screaming Black Lives Matter. Guess what? The Venezuelans is screaming the same thing. You see them, not to say Black Lives Matter, but they got the same feelings going on right now. Like Nicolas Maduro, he don't know if he gonna make it to next week or not. He be like, yo, dog, what you doing next weekend? Shit, I hope I'll be alive to see next weekend. Same with the Venezuelan people over there. Same shit going on over there, man. All right. In the morning thou shalt say what the Most High was even, and at even thou wilt say what the Most High was morning, for the fear of thy heart, wherein thou shalt fear, for the sight of thy eyes which thou shalt see. And Yahawah shall bring thee into Egypt, bondage or slavery, again with ships. It was all in the transatlantic slave trade. The ones, in fact, the so-called natives and the Latino tribes went into slavery before the so-called Negro tribes went into slavery. By the way of ships. They went on the slave ships too, man. So going back into that ADOS thing and only the American descendants of slavery, you see what I'm saying? Well, wait, you talking about the slaves that was brought over here to America to serve in slavery? What about the so-called Native American Indians and the Latino tribes that was taken from America, brought over into Europe and to Spain into slavery? You see what I'm saying? So you have to understand, hey, the same shit popped off on both sides, man. We all caught the same damn hill, man. There's no divide, all right? Verse 68 again, and Yahweh shall bring you into Egypt with ships by the way of I spake unto you. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there thou shalt be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. So when it says you're going to be sold in Egypt, it's not talking about actual one location. You know what I'm saying? Like you're going to be sold into just Egypt alone, which we know that they never actually went back into Egypt as a whole into bondage. All right. And you can't just say this is just talking about America, because why? Again, Egypt is talking about basically bondage here. You being sold into slavery. So whether you were sold into slavery into Mexico, Puerto Rico, Haiti, China, wherever, you was going to be sold into slavery. No man was going to buy you. This is why you still scattered into the four corners of the earth, because no man redeemed you even into the same day. So over there in Russia, over there in China, over there in Kazakhstan, over there in Pakistan, over there in Iraq, over there in Syria, over there in Malaysia, Indonesia, all these different places, man. You got so-called Negroes in all these different places, man, that went through the same shit that you so-called Negroes here in America went through, and the same shit that the so-called Puerto Ricans went through. All right. Same shit, man. It's just same shit, different location. You see what I'm saying? Same shit, different location, different name. They just call these niggas a different name, man. But you the same niggas, man. You see what I'm saying? Some of the so-called Negroes that made it here in America, that was what they called them here in America. But guess what? Some of them was called so-called Mexicans that was brought over there into Mexico, but yet they were still the same tribe of Judah. You see what I'm saying? They call them different names. You see what I'm saying? Let me just continue on. I'll grab that for edification too. Joel 3 and 6. It says, just to the point. Joel 3 and 6. The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem. All right. So it says the children of Judah, which is the so-called Negro tribes. All right. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right. The so-called Haitians, the West Indies, and so-called Negroes. All right. The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel. So what they would call the lost 10 tribes, right? The so-called Latinos and Native American tribes. All right. It says the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, both kingdoms, the northern and the southern kingdom, have you sold unto the Grecians, which is the Edomites, the so-called white man, that ye might remove them far from their border. So what happened? It wasn't just the so-called Negroes that was descendants of the slave trade. It was all the tribes, man. But guess what? Here in America, because it was here in America, you only really hear about just them going into slavery. You don't hear about the other tribes. All right. But at the same time, this happened to all 12 tribes, man. All right. And not just to say that, because hell, even when, like YAHAWASHI was on the scene, right? The Northern Kingdom was already over here on like in America and shit like that. They had been over here for a long time. But guess what? There was still some of the Northern Kingdom over on that side. All right. So while most of the Northern Kingdom was over here catching hell, some of the Northern Kingdom was over there in Jerusalem and wound up coming over here that way. You see what I'm saying? Let me just grab one more precept and we're going to close out with that. Ezekiel 37. I'm going to start at verse 18. No. Verse 15. The word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Again, this is talking about the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah. So you have to understand the house of Israel. All right. Now, and it kind of get a little confusing if you're not too familiar with all these terms and stuff like that, because you'll hear us talk about Israel, you know, as a whole, which is the whole house of Israel. Sometimes, like when you say the whole house of Israel, this is talking about all 12 tribes. But then when you talk about the kingdom of Israel, all right, and a lot of people on surface levels don't know that, yeah, there is an actual kingdom of Israel, you know, where they had their king. Then you had the kingdom of Judah. These were separate, all right, because there was a separation, a divide. The house was divided, just like where we at today. These are the curses that was put upon us, all right? So you had us divided into two different kingdoms. You had the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, where you had the so-called, I would say, the dark tribes, the so-called black tribes. Then you had the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel, with the so-called Latinos and Native American tribes, all right? You had two separate kingdoms. So Judah and all, let me read this again. Moreover, thou son of man, take one stick and write upon it for Judah and the children of Israel, his companions. So Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which is the southern kingdom, which would have been the tribes that was over in Israel when YAHAWASHI was on the scene, all right? Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, for the stick of Ephraim, for all the house of Israel and his companions. Now, Ephraim is like, let me go back to Judah. Judah is the head of the southern kingdom, right? Ephraim is the head of the northern kingdom, right? The so-called Puerto Ricans, all right? And it says, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. So you have the head, Ephraim, the so-called Puerto Ricans, and then all the tribes, the rest of the 10 tribes. You see what I'm saying? You have the Latinos, the so-called Latinos and Native Americans, all right? That's a separate kingdom. So it says, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions, and take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel and his companions, and join them one to another in one stick, and they shall become one in thy hand. All right. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, what will thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Let me keep reading. Verse 19. Say unto them, thus saith Yahawah power, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and I will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in my hand. And the two sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thy hand before their eyes. So the stick is verse 20, and the stick whereon thou writest shall be in thy hand before their eyes. This is a prophecy talking about what you see on the highways and the byways today. Ezekiel wasn't walking around with no goddamn stick, like, well, with this that they talking about. All right. Now, to further break down what this here stick is, when you see us on the highways and the byways, all right, for the most part, you'll sometimes see us with this big, like our biggest sign that we have, or the center sign that we always have, is the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. Now, this is representation of this here stick. Like it broke it down for you up at the top. One for Judah and his companions, and one for Ephraim and his companions, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. You have two different sticks for two separate kingdoms. They're going to be put together in thy hand as one kingdom. You know what I'm saying? One stick. They're going to be joined back together because they was separated. All right. But then it says when the children of Israel walk by, they're like, would you tell us what you mean by this? Right. So this is what plays out on the highways and the byways when you so-called Negroes and Latinos who don't know you Israelites walk by, you know, and the Most High put it in your spirit to do this, where you be so-called all in your feelings. You walk by like, what you mean so-called Negroes? What this sign talking about? What you mean so-called Puerto Ricans? This is what the bait is. So that's why it says, verse 18, and when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, will thou not show us what thou meanest by these? So they walking by on the streets and they see us in this weird ass looking outfit to them, right? Then they see their names. What you mean so-called Negroes? What you mean so-called Puerto Ricans? They take a so-called offense to it. Then we tell them like, yo, look, this is what, you know, the so-called white man labeled you, but this is who you are according to the scriptures. All right. Now you have the two separate kingdoms, but now they're not two separate kingdoms. They're going to be one kingdom in the Most High's hand. So on that wood or the sign that you see, the board that you see all 12 tribes on one sign. You don't see two separate signs. Like you don't see and the camps as well. You see the camps mixed up together. You'll see so-called Negroes and so-called Latinos and Native Americans all in one camp. All right. But nevertheless, you don't see two separate camps, a Negro camp where you're just raising up the children of Judah, and some his so-called Hispanics walk by like, nah, y'all need to go find the kingdom of Israel. Y'all need to go talk to them. This ain't for y'all. This for the so-called Negro tribes. No, it ain't like that. You might have a camp with nothing but the so-called Southern Kingdom, the so-called Negroes, and some so-called Latinos might walk by, and we feeding them the same thing. Hey, this is for you. We coming out here to talk to you. You a part of us. We all brother. We coming back together in the same fold. Now that brother might want to join the camp, and he might be the only Ephraimite or the only Northern Kingdom's only Latino in the camp. But at the same time, this is for all of us. We're not just segregated to, oh, well, because I'm so-called Latino, I can't join your camp because y'all are so-called black people. Nah, it ain't like that. There's no divide. The Most High say they shall be no more two sticks in thy hand. We've already been two sticks. We've already been separated. All right. This was our curses. But now the Most High is gathering us back up together and putting us together in his hand. So now we're not going to be, let me just read it on in the scriptures. Verse 21. And say unto them, thus saith Yahawah power. This is exactly what we're doing now. So literally right here, right now, in your eyes, these prophecies are coming to life right now. All right. This shit never happened back in the days. This is happening literally right now as we speak. As you listening to these here scriptures, this prophecy right here is being fulfilled in your ears right here, right now. And as well, when you walk by on the highways and the byways and you looking at that sign with the 12 tribes on there, this is what that's talking about. All right. Verse 21. And say unto them, all right, this is what we're doing right now. Thus saith Yahawah power, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen. All right. Not the northern kingdom, not the southern kingdom, the children of Israel, the whole fucking house, not just one tribe. We just got done reading that you're not going to be two sticks. You're going to be one stick. All right. You're going to be gathered back together. And then I'm going to pull you about the house. So let's say I got a pool stick, right? Israel was a pool stick. The Most High broke the pool stick in half and like, now I got two pieces, right? Now they threw the pool stick down on the ground. But guess what? I want to pick the pool stick back up and take it back to the house. But before I do, I need to pick it back up, put it back together, tape it on up. You know what I'm saying? Then I could take it back home. That's what's going on right now. Those two sticks was being picked up, put back together, taped up, and then the Most High about to bring us back home and put us up on the shelf. You see what I'm saying? That's what's going on. All right. So it says, verse 21, and say unto them, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. All right. So it don't matter where you was at, whether you was in America, Cuba, Puerto Rico, fuck, even if you was still left over in Africa. You see what I'm saying? The Most High is going to raise us up from all the places we were scattered. All right. It says, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountain of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And there shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. All right. So guess what? We're not going to be the so-called Negro tribes, these tribes, and we're not going to be the so-called black man, the northern kingdom, southern. We're going to be the whole house of Israel, man. We're not going to be divided up like that no more. We ain't going to be separated like that no more, man. We're going to be the whole house of Israel, all right? Verse 23, neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols nor their detestable things. Let me see. Let me just keep reading. Detestable things nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all of their dwelling places where they have sinned, and will cleanse them so that they shall be my people and I will be their power. So as we being gathered back together, you can't be gathered by saying American descendants of slavery. Because why? You know, you talking about the so-called black man, but what about the rest of his brethren, his immediate family, the rest of the so-called black men that was sold into a different nation, all right, that came off the same place where they was the same port. They, you know, two brothers, you know, they got the same father. One of them got on the boat that landed over here, one got over there. You know what I'm saying? They went through the same shit, but guess what? They're going to wind up catching the same reward. All right. It's not going to be just, oh, we're going to just reward the ones over here in America. Nah. All right. It says, I will save them out of all their dwelling places where they have sinned. I will cleanse them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their power. And David, my servant, shall be king over them. And they shall have one shepherd, and shall walk in my judgment, and observe my statutes, and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I had given unto Jacob, my servant, wherein your fathers had dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children, and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. So what? Now we know, Yahweh is going to go like this. Yahweh, YAHAWASHI, King David, the 12, 144,000 on down. But nevertheless, in the carnal sense, the mortal king that we're going to have like one king over top of us. You see what I'm saying? It's not going to be, divided like that no more. King David going to be ruling over basically everybody else. You see what I'm saying? All the rest of the Israelites. All right. The only person over top of him going to be who? Yahweh. Well, YAHAWASHI and the Most High. You see what I'm saying? I'll just read it all the way out. Verse 26, moreover will I make a covenant of peace with them, and it should be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them and set my sanctuary in the midst of them forever. And my tabernacle shall be with them, and I will be their power, and they shall be my people. And all the heathen shall know that Yahweh do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. All right, so as we read here, the Most High said he was going to gather up all 12 tribes and basically deliver all 12 tribes. They was going to become one nation. They're not going to be divided into two separate kingdoms no more. All right. So this American descendants of slavery, which is not necessarily a bad thing to look at, because it's the same shit we telling you, but you cutting yourself off and cutting yourself short by cutting off the rest of your brethren. You see what I'm saying? And the house divided can't stand. You got to understand, we going to war with Esau, Edom, and it's better for him. And it's more, how not to say influential. It's more, beneficial for him to keep us divided, to fight us off that way. All right. And the Most High's plan is to gather us. All right. So you don't want to be trying to divide ourselves up like that. All right. But what's the other one? Survivors of slavery. All right. Now, didn't we just read that Joel 3:6, the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, you have sold the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem into the Grecians. So talking about the survivors of slavery, well, it said that Judah and Jerusalem, both kingdoms, was taken into slavery. All right. Then also you have B1, black first. We just read here, it's not going to be two different nations, two different kingdoms. You're not going to have just one tribe over another tribe. They're going to all be, it's not going to be two sticks. It's going to be one stick in the Most High's hand. So if you want to go against the Most High, then you basically sitting there with Esau, Edom. You want to be a reprobate like him. All right. You might want to jump on the bandwagon of the Most High, because that's your power. That's your leader. That's who the one who going to raise you up out of this here place and deliver you up out of this. All right. Because you don't want to be trying to band together with this ADOS, SOS, B1 and try to band together to ultimately do what? Fight the so-called white man? Well, what strength, what power, what military? What do you have that you're gonna band together against the so-called white man with. You ain't got no money, you ain't got no resources, you ain't got no military, you ain't got no strength, unity, power, no organization, none of that shit, man. You ain't got no real strength, man. You see what I'm saying? You just, and again, not to say that this is a real movement, because again, this is all put together by the so-called white man to steer, because he see the so-called black man, or really all the tribes coming back together, so he's trying to steal the narrative and lead you astray, man. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and close out. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahawah, Bahashim, Yahawashi, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you all, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong and shalom.